Good afternoon. Um, I have a small purchase to report. I took an impromptu trip to Edinburgh earlier this week. I had what has been an uncommon day off. Um, a day with not too much specifically to get done urgently. I'm from Edinburgh, so I was sort of visiting my family a bit. So, anyway, and I popped into the. Is it Cash Converters? I think it's Cash Generator. I think it's near Haymarket. I got a few kind of bargain Game Boy games there before. A funny thing has happened actually, where it used to be side by side with this kind of this mobility scooter shop. Mobility, vehicles for people with mobility issues, scooters, and yeah, these sorts of like pavement vehicle, the kind of thing I mean, mobility scooters, etc. Side by side with this shop, and I was walking up and I saw the sign above the premises for Cash Generator, and inside the shop all I could see were all these scooters, and then I kept walking, and right next door you see the mobility scooter sign above the door, and you see all the Cash Generator stuff. So a really odd thing has happened whereby they, I suppose, directly negotiated with one another to just swap premises. The mobility scooter place needed more space, Cash Generator obviously needed less, but it's kind of weird to see that happen on a kind of sort of direct person-to-person basis. You'd think that they would just, I don't know. Anyway, it's quite funny, and they've not changed the signs yet. Quite an uncannily neat arrangement. Anyway, I went to Cash Generator, and yeah, I mean, they didn't have an awful lot. They often don't. These places have like hundreds of PS2 games, some Xbox 360 games, and then the occasional thing in a cabinet that's, could be interesting, could be not. Anyway, recognizable stuff from before, which hadn't changed one bit. One thing they had, which I got, which was a nice wee deal, Pokemon Fire Red. Again, a game I've had before and gotten rid of or lost or something. When I originally got when it was new, Pokemon Leaf Green. I can't remember what the reason for that would have been, because I was probably more fond of, for one, I was probably more fond of Pokemon Red back in the day, and not least of all, as a Westerner, it was with Pokemon Red and Blue that I was acquainted. So the kind of, Red and Green was a kind of a throwback to, it was a reference to the original Red and Green in Japan, which never came out here. So I don't know, maybe either Fire Red was just less available when I went to buy it new at the time, or I thought, hey, I've never had a Pokemon Green. Not that I mean, I will have known that it didn't make much difference, but maybe that was the appeal. It was kind of a reference to a thing that was different, other. Anyway, when I've subsequently had sort of the games again, after having, actually, you know what, I think I lost Leaf Green on that bus that I've talked about a couple of times. That might not be true, but when I got these games again, actually it has been Fire Red. I remember getting Fire Red secondhand, unboxed in that place on Leith Walk, Games Masters, which I've maybe talked about before. It was at the time when I went in, the first time I'd been in for some years. I was on my way back from a rehearsal or maybe a recording, which would have been my first recording session. I know I didn't have my instrument with me. Would have been a double bass. I can't surely have taken it into the shop. Anyway, I went in. It was the first time I'd been in for a long time, so it was kind of a nostalgia trip. And I asked just if they still had the drawer of unboxed Game Boy games, which was always really exciting, rifling through it. And back in the day, you could get loads of good stuff, really, really cheap. And it rotated all the time. I've since been in and asked the exact same thing. Do you still have the drawer? They do, but it's the selection isn't quite as reliable anymore. At this time, I went in and there was a Pokemon Fire Red. I don't think I spent very much on it. But the thing about these games is they kind of keep their value. So I only spent a tenner on this, which I think is pretty good, because if it were in CEX, I think it would be more like £15 or £20. And it's quite telling. I'm getting a bit of a sense of what, in terms of the chains that sell these, the chain stores that do these retro games and things, used games, where has a greater, not necessarily even knowledge of what they're worth, but how their prices sit. Possibly for things that are, I don't know, for recognizable games, I think cash converters might be the most expensive. I've seen a Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast there for £10, whereas in CX it would be £8. CX I know is probably, you can get things there so easily, but I'm not sure it's cheaper than other places. If you just go on eBay or something, or just happen to get a good deal. But I think both of these places, the prices are predictable. There's some system to it. Cash Generator, on the other hand, if that is where I got this, I think it is. My experience with them is that their stuff is cheaper, and it seems to be priced not randomly, but like £2 for a Game Boy game, original Game Boy. Like, that's just the price of the Game Boy game, whether it's like, Tetris or Dr. Mario or like Super Mario Land or something like that. Like, whereas in CEX, Tetris probably would only be like £4, maybe £5, but Super Mario Land or something would be more like £10 or £12. And I've gotten 2 Game Boy Advance Pokemon games, which they would have no trouble selling for £15 or £20, but I've gotten both of them for about a tenner each. Although I actually got the other one for half price, Ruby, because it was sitting around for a while. Not that made any difference to me. It was the first time I'd been in. Anyway, so yep, Pokemon Fire Red. Haven't talked about much about my experience of the game. Well, it was Leaf Green I played when games were new. My most vivid memory of Leaf Green is playing in the airport on my Game Boy Advance SP. For some reason, that's the memory. It must have been, rather than the original Game Boy Advance I had before. I was using a Pikachu. Can't remember what else, but I remember I had Slam. I just remember, Pokemon is repetitive. So, and if you don't mix up your team a lot, I think especially I was probably trying to. I have an idea of it being right outside Rock Tunnel. That's the memory I have, and I think Pikachu was at a stage where its stats weren't really because it hadn't evolved. It wasn't quite up to where the other Pokemon on my team were, but I wanted to learn certain moves before evolving it. So I think I was grinding quite a lot with Pikachu, and I'm just trying to think. It must be a repetitive thing. I will just play it the whole time en route on to this, on this holiday. I remember being in the airport, probably sitting on the floor, maybe even using the charger. I don't know, like a plug in the airport. Maybe not, but yeah. And I distinctly remember Leaf Green. I remember the Game Boy Advance SP. I remember. Is it the trainer with Jigglypuff or Clefairy outside Rock Tunnel on the way in? It's a pretty easy game to get these quite specific memories kind of lodged in because of how repetitive it is. Not unlike many other games, I suppose, but there's colours associated with it as well. I can sort of see them in my head. Yeah. Anyway, but that was Leaf Green. This is Fire Red. Don't have Leaf Green anymore. Won't be surprised to hear if you hear anything. Yeah.